is Sophie and today I'm here to talk about all the books I've read since my last video. So I filmed a video I think on 1st or 2nd of April about all the books I read this year up until that point, and I gave a little bit of a TBR that I was gonna read. I mostly didn't stick to that TBR, but I've read quite a few things, I think more than double that I read since then. At that point I had read 12 books. At this point, all year I've read 27. So I've read 15 books, 16 books since April 1st or April 2nd, and I just want to talk about them. Talk about what I thought, give you a little update on my reading. I'm doing this right now because my parents just went for a run and my brother is on the shower, so this is like the ideal moment for me to do this. Otherwise, I'm gonna be like without a video for like months. But anyway, let's get right into it. I said I was going to read the Percy Jackson series before my birthday, which was April 17, and I started, I think, let me see, just a second, April 6th. So I started with Lightning Thief, then I read Sea of Monsters, then Titan's Curse, then Battle Labyrinth, then Last Olympian from the 6th to the 10th of April. So I did that in 5 days, 5 books in 5 days, just as I wanted to. But then, April 10th, I was like, what if I continue and I also read Heroes of Olympus, the series. So instead of doing Percy Jackson the Olympians in 5 days, I do all the main Percy Jackson series, which I consider main Percy Jackson series, in 10 days. All 10 books in 10 days. So that's what I did. Thoughts. First series, still love it. Had a lot of fun revisiting this. Haven't read like these books for years. These are the books that got me into reading, so it was just like really nice to be in this world again. And I love Percy, I love Annabeth, I love like all of it. Now, Heroes of Olympus I have more thoughts on, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to properly articulate them right now because I enjoyed it. I had great time reading it. I think House of Hades is my favorite. Don't know why. I think just because of the characters I got out of there feeling, yeah, that was really good. But Blood of Olympus is a bad conclusion. Riordan is real bad at character consistency, which I don't know how, because he wrote the original series, which was really good. Also, this man does not know how to write a book with over 7 points of views. He does not know how to juggle all those character arcs. Like, I read that barely a month after rereading Words of Radiance, the second book in the Stormlight Archive, which is a huge fantasy epic, juggles probably over 80 viewpoints in a very, very good way, and it opens up arcs and closes out the arcs in a very good way. I know that that is adult, this is YA, but still, I need quality. And it's like the Riordan, he doesn't know how to really close up arcs, multiple arcs in one book in a satisfying way. So he closes one by halfway, and then he closes another one by 70%, and he closes another one by 80, then another one by 90. And it's just like, you kind of stop and you get 3 chapters from one person, then 3 chapters from another person, then 3 chapters from another person, and it's just kind of convoluted, but I still have fun. But you know, I have my issues with it. So those two counted as 10 books. So those are 10 of the 15 books I read since then. So let's talk about the 11th. And it was Middlegame by mcguire. I loved it. This was a book that actually was in my TBR that I did on my last video. And look at how many tabs. I had so much fun with it. I started it already knowing I was gonna love it. I did not give it 5 stars though. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I just really like how mcguire talks about science, and she talks about language, and how she puts the scientific or philosophical aspects in her books, and she plays with them, and I really love this. It has really interesting mythology with the whole doctrine of ethos thing. I just had a lot of fun, and I love Roger and Dodger. Now, my reason why I didn't give this 5 stars. The beginning was heavily character-centric. We had a little bit of plot sprinkled in with how they came to be, what is the doctrine of ethos, the whole thing. I don't explain books, okay, because otherwise it's gonna be too long. But quickly, this is about two twins, Roger and Dodger. Apparently they've been made to embody this doctrine of ethos, which is a balance between language and mathematics. Each one of them is a part, and shenanigans ensue. Okay, getting back to this. Beginning was heavily character-centric, which I loved, because I love the character. But by the end, we were way more plot-centric, which is fine, because the character already established, we already know the character, we already like the character, so it makes sense that we go like heavily more into plot. But there are time jumps in this, and we got to know these characters when they were young adults, teenagers, and children. I'm gonna talk real low because people came back. The focus was more on the plot than the characters, and since we didn't get much character focus when they were already adults, I didn't feel that attachment anymore. I didn't cry over them, I didn't cheer for them as much as I was cheering in the beginning, so I felt that lack of character in the end a little bit, even though we were already established, just because of that child to young adult to adult transition. Didn't feel it as much. But overall, really love this book. It's really good. Next book I read I actually don't own. It's I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Iain, Reid. This is a weird thriller horror book, which has some philosophy, but also weird things are happening. I don't know. I can't really explain it. I liked it. I thought it was fine. I was surprised by the twist. I got not creeped out, but I liked the creepy parts. I wasn't creeped out myself, but when creepy parts were happening, I was like, ooh, this is creepy. It's atmospheric. So if you're into horror, check that one out. I think it's really popular in certain circles. But it's short also. Just didn't really feel much with it, but I liked it. I also don't own the next book I read, which is The Girl in the Stars by Mark Lawrence. Mark Lawrence is a writer of Red Sister, Prince of Thorns, Prince of Fools. Red Sister, Book of the Ancestors, one of my favorite series ever, and he just put out another book in the same planet, which is Abeth, and we don't really know when it's set in relation to Red Sister, but I was dying to read it, and not sure. I liked it, but also zero connection to anything or anyone in there. Like, I started to have a connection with the main character by the end, but I also took a long while to get there. Comparing, I read this book that has 320 pages. I have the timestamp. I read in 5.5 hours. It was counted on my iBooks account really quickly. This book that has I think 350 or 360 pages, I read in 12 hours, because I just have a thing with Mark Lawrence's writing. Sometimes we really vibe, or on the same level. Other times he says something I truly do not know what he's saying. My brain stops working. English stops working. Just don't know what he's saying. Things just go right over my head, and that's what happened with the majority of this book, unfortunately. Although the twists, so good. I liked every single one of them, even though I wasn't so shocked. I had fun with every single twist, had fun with the new mythology, loved learning more about the missing, and I liked it. Just didn't have emotional connection to it that warrants a 4-star for me. Also, the other book, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, I gave it 3.5 stars. This one I also gave 3.5 stars, but they're different 3.5 stars. I like this one. It's fine. It's good. I think if I continue the series, I'm gonna get way more attached to these characters and their situation, and I just hope the second one comes out, when the second one comes out next year, that I love it as much as I love Red Sister and the Book of the Ancestors series. The next book I read was King of Crows by Libba Bray. This is the last book in the Diviner series. It came out in February. I didn't read it because I did not have an Audible account, and I could only get this through Audible. But then it was my birthday and money came in, and so I So I signed up for a month of Audible, and I read this, loved it. I love the narration, I love the atmosphere, I love the world, I love the way Libba Bray writes, I love the characters, just the ending to a series that I really like. And I just had a lot of fun. I cried my eyes out. This cover is beautiful, at least I think so. And overall, it's just a lot of fun with this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I don't know if it's an objective 5 out of 5, but it's definitely a 5 out of 5 for me, especially after being away from these audiobooks, which are my, like, Illuminate's my favorite audiobook, the series, and then it's The Diviners. Being away from these audiobooks for 2 years, getting back to it, just got this feeling. Got me feeling this feeling, and I just had to give it 5 stars. The last finished book on this list, it's The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. So, I have a very complicated relationship with this book. I'm just gonna, can you see it? I'm gonna put it here. So, I have a very complicated relationship with this book. Just a little bit of my history with it. I started reading it in December. Got about half. I was really liking it in the first 30-40%. Like, I was digging in, I was liking the characters, I was liking our situation, I was liking our traveling plot. But then something happened. The characters separated, some groups went in different ways, and things started going downhill. There was this group where I really liked one character and I hated the other character, and every time we focused on this group, the point of view went to the character I hate. So that really just couldn't get through that. The story wasn't really progressing as much anymore in the middle, and I just lost interest. I DNF'd it. That was December 2019. Flashback to now, since after King of Crows I have my Audible account for the month, and I was like, what if I try to finish Eye of the World? So I had 14 hours left on the audiobook, and I read it in 2 days, and I still liked it, but also didn't like it. The middle, like the 40 through like 65%, unbearable to read. Hated it. Now, the characters got back together again. I hope this is not a spoiler. This is like 30-year-old series. Characters got together again, and things started going uphill as I go. I like these characters, like their interaction, like some things, but also other parts also got boring. For some reason, my brain, that's what I'm talking about, stopped processing English. So he would say like a paragraph, and I'm like, who? What? Sometimes that happens, like my brain just burns out. Since if you haven't noticed yet, I'm not a native English speaker. I'm Brazilian, I speak Portuguese. And sometimes my brain just does not want to comprehend English. And so sometimes I was just completely lost in the story. Other times I was really into it. So that is probably my most complicated relationship with a book I've ever had. Even more with The Popular, which was another book that I had a really complicated relationship with. And The Eye of the World, I finished it, gave it 2 out of 5 stars because I kind of liked it, but I also kind of didn't like it. But I finished it 2 days ago. Haven't stopped thinking about it. I'm just doing something random, and I get that feeling as if I'm in that world again. Like, what the fuck? I didn't like this book. Why am I wanting more? Why am I feeling that feeling again? So I'm almost done with another book I'm reading, and I decided to download the audiobook for the second book, and I'm gonna read it. And I already started. I'm like an hour in, and I'm really liking it. I think it was just like a fluke with The Eye of the World, that first book, but I'm really liking it, and I hope I like the rest of the series way more than like the second book. Hope Perrin doesn't get as many point of views because I fucking hate that man. And yeah, those were the books I read up until this point. I'm gonna talk about a book that I'm almost done because I don't know when I'm gonna be able to talk to you again. Hi, this is Sophia from like 30 days later because I never edited this and I've never posted anything, but I was going to talk about Vita Nostra, this book that I read before having finished it, but since I finished it a month ago, I'm gonna talk a little bit about my feelings. Just quick intervention. Vita Nostra is a Russian book in a dark school setting, and it's downright one of the weirdest things I've ever read, I've ever seen. The magic system here, it's very much not unexplained but mysterious. One of the weirdest things I've ever read, and I really liked it. When I finished it, I was kind of a little bit underwhelmed because there was so much setup, and I didn't love the ending exactly because I didn't really understand the end. But now, a month after having finished this, I sometimes catch myself thinking about it, and like I'm reading something in a school setting and I think about Vita Nostra and how fucking insane this book is. It's not insane in a splashy way where it shoves a bunch of things in your face and just like, look how weird we are. No, it's more of a slow burn, weird things are happening, sense of dread, sense of unease, which I really liked. I love school settings, one of my favorite tropes. Really like the protagonist. I love the magic here. It's so weird, and even though I was a little bit underwhelmed about the ending, because not that it's bad, it's just that I don't really know what happened in the ending. Even a month later, I went to search online forums. Most of them have very different opinions on how this book ended, but if you like school settings, dark, weird, gritty shit, pick this one up. It's like, how can somebody think this shit up? How can somebody think of this magic system? It's weird. Back to April me. These were the books I read so far since April. Shit, is this an April wrap-up? I've been calling it books I've read so far since April, but we're still in April, so this is a April wrap-up. I am a dumbass. Anyway, I like most of these books. I actually didn't actively dislike any of these books, which is fucking perfect. I hate not liking books, but also it's necessary sometimes, except for this shit. I don't know what happened here. But yeah, my name is Sophia, and I'll see you next time. Bye!